In this video, we're going to talk about how you know if an internet source is credible or trustworthy. All right, so this is going to be an article I found. It's called 4 Ways to Differentiate a Good Source from a Bad Source. Number 1, check the domain name. The stuff at the dot up here, .com, .edu, .gov, .org. So that actually tells you something about the source. So edu means educational, gov means government, org is a nonprofit, and com is commercial. You can usually trust edu and .gov sites. Not always, but usually. Whereas org and com, you have to kind of be aware. So as it explains, the nonprofit websites may contain reliable information, but they also could have some bias depending on the position of the organization. So you can find reliable websites on .com, but not always. So just be aware. All right, so take a closer look at the source. Does the article or study have any authors listed? If so, do they cite or link to authoritative sources, or are they writing their own opinion without backing up these facts? Are their credentials listed? So you're basically just going to take a look at the source and see, do they seem to give you a lot of details? Do they tell you where they got their information? Do they seem to come from a reliable organization, or is this just some random person saying what he thinks? Number 3, search for additional information to back up what you found. This is super helpful. So if you're not sure about a site, check to see if two or three or 4 sites say the same thing. So if you can find 3 sites that all say the same thing, it's probably true. Number 4, use certain sources only to jumpstart additional research. Wikipedia, super helpful, not always accurate. So in some cases, there are really good, accurate things on Wikipedia. But sometimes people will come in and change it because anyone can edit Wikipedia, so you never know whether something you're reading is accurate or not. So I like to use Wikipedia as, like they say, a jumpstart for additional research. So I might start at Wikipedia to Google and see what do they have? What are some good ideas? But don't cite Wikipedia. You don't want to use any quotes from it. Same thing for individual blogs, online forums, or chat rooms. Don't use those as sources. They're not good. So as an example, let's look at a couple websites to figure out when will the coronavirus end. This video was made on May 22nd, so we're still in the middle of the pandemic. And let's see, when do we think it'll end? All right, so here's something from CNET. How long will the coronavirus last? Will there be a second wave? Would we know? Okay, so I like that this is recent, but the more ads that are on a website in general, the less reliable it is. Okay, because that usually means that they're getting their money from ads, which means they could be influenced. I do like that there are a lot of links here. These are hyperlinks. They're supposed to take you to the source where CNET got their information. However, if you actually click on these sources, you will find that CNET is using itself as a resource. These links take you back to CNET. It will be kind of like me saying cats are the best animal because last year I posted a blog saying cats are the best animal. It just doesn't really make sense. So this is definitely a bit of a red flag. Although usually if you see hyperlinks like this, it's a good sign, but make sure you look at the hyperlinks and click on them to make sure they're getting their information from a reliable place. Okay? So the next thing I wanted to know is, what is CNET? Can I rely on CNET? So let's click on the body page to see if this is just a reliable website. Okay, so do you see how I'm seeing a lot of this is not health related. So I already know that CNET maybe isn't an expert on my subject. Let's see if I can figure out where these people come from, what's their organization. Let's scroll all the way to the bottom, because usually that kind of information is either at the bottom or there should be an about section. Let's see if we can find it. I'm seeing a lot of ads, so this is not making me feel super trusting. Okay, about CNET. Okay, so it looks like if you read here, it looks like they could be reliable. They're a news source, but as you can tell from the front of the page, they're not a medical site. So I would rate this kind of a B-level site. You could use it, but I wouldn't rely on this as a main source. I would want to make sure, see if another source says the same thing. Okay, next we have the World Economic Forum. You can see that this automatically looks way more professional than CNET. Yeah? So I like that I'm not seeing any ads. That tells me that they do enough work that they don't need to use ads to make a lot of money. I like that they seem to be using data. That tells me that this is more reliable. And I like that they have all this licensing information because it makes me feel like they definitely care about the law and are reliable. Let's check, what is the World Economic Forum? Okay, again, you can see here this looks way more official and definitely has more of a focus on health news. Let's see if we can figure out who these people are. Okay. Do you see how there's like a lot of information here about the company? That tells me again that they're pretty reliable. And reading through here, they're established in 1971. Okay. I'm going to say that this is a good site. You could definitely get reliable information from here. Next is The Atlantic. So I use this as an example of, this is a site that is a newspaper, so it should be reliable because this is a reliable publication, but it's probably also going to have a bias to it. So for things like the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, newspapers like this, you can use them, but just be aware there might be a bias or an opinion that's slanted. Similar to Atlantic is the Vox, but this is a little bit less reliable because it's more like a social media bent. So this would also be like a B-level site. And last, we have the super reliable. Look, this says .gov. This is the CDC. This is the government organization that's in charge of making laws. So I know that anything on this site will be reliable, and I can definitely cite it in an essay if I were to write an essay about when the coronavirus will end. Okay, so that should answer a lot of your questions about whether a website is credible. And those are kind of the steps I go through when I'm trying to figure out if a site is credible so that I know if I can trust it to know when the pandemic is going to end. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Bye.